Happy Tuesday. You're listening to Real Talk with Karen Stacy live on MiamiMikeRadio.com. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. The exciting show today. First of all, what the hell happened to summer? Like, it's over already. Us in the New York area, it was like 80 gabillion degrees today. Definitely a good day for the pool. And I don't know where the summer went. And my kids start school in a week from today. So, how does that happen is my question. Where did the summer go? Like, it was all we could do to get here, and now we're here. So anyway, I just want to let you guys know. First of all, can somebody let me know if we can hear me? Because I'm not sure if we are connected, but I believe we are. So sorry, technical difficulties, man. This whole internet thing is just a crazy thing, right? That's why I need teenagers so that they can teach me what to do, which my son will be soon enough. So I just wanted to let you guys, so today my show is about teenagers, and in particular, teenage girls, or a teenager, female teenager. Now, I had somebody come to me and they said, you should do a show about, teenagers and daughters and how they hate their mother and all of these amazing things. And she said, I would just love to hear how other parents handle these situations. So I have my guest today, who is a friend of mine for quite a long time. She was actually on my first show. And she is the person that I go to, when I have certain questions. I know her a long time, and she has 4 kids, all ranging in ages, and I'll let her tell you about that. And it's not easy raising children and finding the right ways, to get everybody on the same page and on the same side. So I want to introduce you guys to my girlfriend, Melanie. She goes by Lani, and I call her Mel, so it's going to be very confusing when I address her because there's going to be 100 different names going on. But I would like you guys to say hello. Hi, Mel. Thank you so much for being on the show tonight.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Well, I had to have you because I said, who else should I have on that would be better to help us with this situation? So I always like to let my listeners know who I'm talking to. So I already prefaced by saying you have 4 kids. So can you tell us a little more tell my listeners a little bit more about you so that they can understand who you are and where you come from?
Okay. I have 4 kids, as Karen said. My oldest is 27. He's a 27-year-old boy. My first daughter is 16 and just got her learner's permit yesterday.
Holy cow.
In a whole new era in our household. And then the final 2, surprise, surprise, were boy-girl twins who are 15 years old. They're 15 months younger than my 16-year-old. So next year when they get their permits, our life is going to be really fun, I'm sure.
You know what?
Everybody's fighting over the car.
That is so crazy. I mean, I've known you, I met you when your oldest son was a baby. So, I was at your house, a month or 2 ago, and I actually got your 2 daughters. I called one of your daughters the other name because your younger daughter grew up so freaking fast that I thought she was your older daughter. And I was like, oh my God, did I just call her the wrong name?
We do it all the time. She's out of nowhere. like this young woman and not our little baby girl anymore. And she is technically the baby, so it's very hard for us.
I can't even imagine. And I mean, I gather, you raising twins. I mean, obviously you raised 2 other children prior to that, but what is it like raising twins?
For us, honestly, other than coordinating schedules, because the youngest 3 are so close in age, it's not, when they were toddlers, it was really, really tough. As teenagers, it's not as bad. They are polar opposites, other than you can look at them and tell that they're at least related. They have not a single interest in common. So they actually get along pretty good despite that. So the teenage years are not that bad as far as raising them goes. What's really hard is all the last, when your kids are toddlers and babies, you're living for the first, the first step, the first time they crawl, first word, all of that. We have to deal with all of the last at the same time. The last 8th grade graduation, the last field trip. They're both going to go to prom at the same time, and then everybody's going to leave me almost at once. So that's honestly the hardest part right now.
Well, then I know, and then my son he'll be going into that point, so I'll just tell you to come over and help me.
Yes, I'll live vicariously through you.
You're not living vicariously. I'm going to drag you into it because I'm not ready to handle the whole teenage thing and all of that. I know it's a subject, and it's funny because when I was pregnant, I swore I was having a girl. I mean, anybody that knows me knows I'm the girliest girl in the entire world. And
I swore you were having a girl too.
Oh my God. And it was like when they said it was a boy, my face dropped because I'm like, what the hell am I going to do with a boy? Like, he likes like dirt and bugs, and I can't have nothing to do with any of that stuff. Like, what am I going to do with him? I need to, comb their hair. I want to polish their nails. I want to get them cute outfits. And I don't know. I think I might have told you this, but I remember after the sonogram and finding out I was having a boy, and I don't want to use the word disappointed because I was blessed and I'm so grateful that my son was healthy and all of that. But, we all have in our head, maybe, like I said, I thought I was having a girl. So when they said a boy, my father and one of my best friends who happens to be a guy, other than you, because you're not a guy. They said to me, that's perfect. And I was like, why would you say that? And I said, these are 2 men who I really, I take what they feel to heart. I'm very close to my father, and they said to me that was perfect. And so my father said to me, Karen, I watched you and your mother, while you grew up, and if you ever had a relationship like that with one of your kids, it would kill you. And I was like, that's a good point. And then my friend said to me, well, you're a guy's girl, so you needed to have a boy. And I am grateful every day that I have a boy, because especially after what we've been through, I mean, he is emotional because he's my kid, but I know it's a different dynamic between boys and girls. So now you've raised 2 boys and 2 girls. So where do you fall? Well, not where do you fall, but what's your outlook on raising a boy versus a girl?
Oh, I don't know if I said this ever. None of them are anywhere around that can hear me right now, but I wanted all boys. You know that. I was always terrified if I got a girl, she would be just like me. And both my daughters are just like me in very different ways. I personally think that raising boys is easier. There's much less drama for the most part. When they get to my kids' age, having the adult boy and the 15-year-old, you do deal with some drama, but it only comes into play once there's girls involved.
Ugh. No girls. There's no girls allowed. Get away from my son.
Mama with the daughters from almost the get-go.
Yeah.
They fight and they who stole whose hairbrush and hair tie, and she's got my shirt and my shoes, and then with the friends, it's even worse.
Why?
Because the girls are catty and nasty and words I can't even say on the radio. They're awful. They are absolutely awful. And they drop on a dime. It's not like when we grew up. I feel like we grew up in a generation, we were loyal to our pack.
Huh.
We were ride or die.
Right.
And there was always that one girl that was like catty or nasty, but now they're all catty and nasty. My oldest daughter, all her friends are boys. She just can't handle females.
Yep. And I can relate to that 1,000%, because those are, I mean, you and I have been friends a long time, but, we are on the same page. It's not easy. Female-female relationships are tricky, and then we all know male-female relationships are a whole other story. I think they wrote a book on that, right? They wrote a gazillion books, but men are from Mars and women are from Venus, or did I screw that up? It's the other way. I don't even know.
No, I think you got it.
Yeah, so you would say that in terms of, like, I know with my son, and again, my son is only 9.5 now, so I can't, that's why I needed, someone, I mean, you have children, all ages at this point, so to me, I said it, like, when I was first a mom, and I think I got through, like, the first 2 years, I said, now I think I might be like almost a professional. Like, it takes time to become, and I always said you're a professional mom, because we don't know what the hell we're doing. There's no book. I mean, there are books.
There's no manual. The books don't help. Every kid is different. Unless somebody writes a book explaining how every kid is different and how to deal with all those differences, I threw the books out the window once everybody was born.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing, is that, you do try to bring, like, you try to pool all your resources together, right? To make the best, decisions and choices for your children. But yes, every kid is different. It's absolutely true. So I know, for instance, like my son, when he was, I don't know, what was he, 2-3 years old, and he started having those health issues with the ear infections and the asthma and the allergies. And you had a similar situation with your son as your one of your twins, your son. And we used to commemorate over that, or commiserate, and and it was, and so one of the things we did was we took them to the chiropractor, which you felt helped your son tremendously, correct?
It did. He went from being scheduled to have tubes in his ears. I told the doctor, the pediatrician, give me 2 weeks, and if I haven't fixed it on my own, I'll let you do the surgery. And I took him to the same chiropractor you used for 3 times a week for 2 weeks, and he's never had an ear infection since then.
Which is absolutely amazing. My son did not, it took us a while. It took us 3 times a week for a lot of months.
Oh, we went for years after that. Don't get me wrong. It's just, I promised the doctor gave me a 2-week deadline, so I promised a significant improvement, which I got.
And that was, and it's funny because I went through the same thing, and I called you up hysterical, and I was like, he has asthma, I'm not letting them do surgery on him, the last thing he needs to do is go under anesthesia, what if he has a hard time breathing, yada yada. I was like, and then I kept saying, he's like 3, how screwed up can a kid be at 3 years old? Like, come on, let's let the body do.
Tyler also had asthma, if you remember.
Of course.
And I remember him, the 2 of us complaining over what meds our insurances would pay for.
Yep.
They would pay for the ones that made him go bonkers, but not the ones that actually helped them.
Yep.
And now he's 15. He hasn't used a nebulizer since he was about 11.
Wow, and that's great. And that also is just a shout out to all the parents out there, you know, not saying that we know everything by any means, but, you know, we went through a lot with our children, our boys, and them not being well, and that was one of the things that I did. I mean, you know me, my son was on the show and told everybody that I turned into a crazy mama, and, you know, I don't let him eat this, I don't let him do that, and whatever. But you know what? Whatever works, right? As long as your kid's not on 37 different medications, you know, you could call me crazy all you want, because I've been called worse, and I'm okay with that.
Exactly. When it applies to my kids, crazy mama is one of the best things you can call me, as far as I'm concerned.
That's how I feel too, because that means that I'm not running with the norm, because, you know, your doctors tell you, and that was great that you've always been very diplomatic like that, and the fact that you were able to, you know, say that to the doctor. When we went, we went to one ENT, and I like wanted to strangle her because I just couldn't stand. She didn't even like introduce herself. She just went over and touched my son. And you don't ever put your hands on another person unless they know who and what you are. Just because they're children don't mean that they don't deserve respect. And that alone, I was like, can you please tell him who you are so that he understands why you're touching, you know, or looking in his ears? And we found another doctor, and I remember the doctor said to me, this is the first time I'm meeting his ears. Yes, there is a lot of fluid in his ears. Let's try this. You know, he was on one of the Flonase or whatever, which was like a nasal steroid. Let's try that, reduce the inflammation, and I took him to the chiropractor. And we went back a month later, and he said that there were bubbles in the ears, which meant that, you know, the fluid was moving. And that was like winning the lotto when I heard that. So, you know, I know it was a great thing, and I'm always grateful that you connected me with the chiropractor, and we still go till this day. You moved away, but I think you guys see somebody out by you on occasion, right?
We do. We used it for my daughter's migraines when they wanted to just put her on medication. Now, she still does need some medication, but not what they wanted her on. The 4 different drugs they wanted her on to control her migraines. And we use it for TMJ. We use it for... Tyler doesn't go as often as the girls, but the girls go at least twice a week for a variety of issues.
Well, that's amazing. And I just want to remind you guys that you are listening to Real Talk with Karen Stacy live on MiamiMikeRadio.com. And I have on the phone right now with me my girlfriend Melanie, who is a mommy of 4. And it was brought to my attention that I should do a show about teenagers. So we went off a little bit and we talked about mommy stuff. So now I got to get back to the teenage thing because, you know, there's a lot of questions here. So I just want to, you know, I have to, can we talk about the nose ring story? Because that was really funny. And that was a battle of the wills. And I have to say that I totally respected you because I was like, that's it, you know, and I'll interject as we tell the story. But, you know, tell all the listeners what actually happened with the nose ring incident.
So, our daughters, both of them, have been asking for nose rings since they were 12 and 13. And a couple months ago, they called me when I was at work and said, can our friends come over? And I said, sure. And I was a little surprised when I came home that their friend, who was a boy, was in one of my daughter's rooms with them, but it was all 3 of them, so I wasn't overly concerned. And I knocked on the door, and they had nose ring kits delivered to his house, and he was delivering them and helping them pierce each other's noses.
First of all, I'm going to interrupt you. The fact that you came home and there was a boy in your daughter's room, see, right there just goes to show you what an amazing, patient, rational human being you are. Because
You also have to understand, I've known this boy since he was in 3rd or 4th grade, and he's just a friend. Like, I wasn't concerned.
Oh, okay.
I would have been if it was just one of them. But
Gotcha.
All 3 of them were in the room together.
Okay, all right.
They don't normally close their doors with any friends over. It's not even a boy-girl thing. It's just we want to know what you're doing when you're in your room.
Yeah, hello.
My son and his friend are on the computer. I want to be able to walk by and see what they're looking at.
Yep.
Same with the girls. So, so I was just a little taken aback that the door was shut. I wasn't concerned, honestly, with what they were doing in there.
Well, see, that's your mistake.
It also comes with knowing your kids. I knew all the kids involved, so I wasn't worried about any of that stuff.
But then...
So he was delivering the nose ring piercing kits that they had bought online and helping them pierce each other's noses. And Bree's worked no problem. My older daughters did not. So I walked into her bleeding, and then everybody started crying because they thought I was going to be mad. And I was mad. I'm pretty sure I texted you. I was like, my daughters just had a nose piercing party. I'm going to kill them. And I was actually kind of thinking you were going to talk me off the ledge. And you were like, oh, rip those things out of their noses. Fast forward a couple days, everything calms down, and I actually decided that there were worse things they could do, and as upset as my husband and I were that they were not honest with us about it because they had asked and we had said no, so they were punished for that. But I actually took the daughter whose nose it didn't work on to a professional piercing place and got her nose pierced.
Yeah, see, and you text me actually, and you were the way you just said it was not like, I mean, yes, that was the story, but you were like, I'm gonna kill her, and it was the thing that was the thing that was the issue, though, that I recall was that they asked, like you just said 2 seconds ago, they asked for permission. They were not granted the permission, and they went and did it anyway. So my feeling was with you, and what I said to her was, you need to show her she's testing you. They're testing you. So you need to show her, that she's not going to get away with that. So that was where... I was guiding you, and you were like, I'm going to let her, suffer through it because she was in pain or whatever that night. Something was going on, right?
That was my original plan, was we were going to let Bree suffer through the pain and the swelling, and she didn't sleep well that night, and show her and her sister, like, see what this stupid thing you did was. And my biggest thing was my daughters don't lie to me, and I felt so deceived and so hurt that they intentionally went, I'm so sorry, my cat is yelling at me.
I hear it.
He's very angry. So I was, and they've never done anything like this before. So we honestly, once the anger was incredible. I can't even describe the anger because this was like the first deceptive thing that they've done. They've never done anything like this before. So initially, I wanted to make sure that Bree suffered and that Jay-Z saw her suffer, and then I was going to make them suffer and then take Bree's ring out and not let Jay-Z get hers pierced. So they went through all this pain and upset for nothing.
Right.
Fortunately, over the next few days, I calmed down and gave, and my husband and I both, we had, I can't even, but this was a topic of conversation in our house for days. And I came to there's so many worse things they could do. And I'm not even just talking drugs or alcohol. There are kids in their school who get fake IDs and have other people's parents go pretend to be theirs and get tattoos without their parents knowing. They could be having sex. They could be going out and drinking. And they're very honest girls, usually. This was the first time they lied to me or were deceptive. So we just decided that this was obviously extremely important to them. So we made it very clear that this would never fly again, that there was never going to be, no matter what, another instance where they were going to get away with something like this. But again, we did let JC, I took her and got her nose pierced, and we let them keep it, and now they have little rings, and they love them. Luckily, it was their noses and not something else, because the nose closes no matter how long you've got it pierced.
Yes.
It closes almost instantly. So they were punished. Again, don't get me wrong. They were both grounded. They had no social life, no cell phones, no internet for 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, they got punished, even though, because we had to show them that even though you're kind of getting your way, because we see your point, you still did something extremely wrong. So they were grounded, and I, for, 15 and 16-year-olds, they were punished pretty severely. No internet or phone or social life for 2 weeks is hell.
Yeah, and again, I think that what I love is that you guys found that balance. I know that, for instance, one of the women that was, asking me about doing this show, she's having a really hard time with her daughter, and it's not an easy thing to do, because you never know what the right thing is, right? So, the fact that you never want your kid to not come to you. So obviously what they did was, it was like you said, it was the mistrust, because they lied. They knew they weren't supposed to do something. I mean, I know you a long time, and when your kids had everything. I mean, your son, I put green in his hair and blonde and blue, and I mean, he was young. He was a teenager. Your younger daughter, you would, when I couldn't do their hair, you would text me, all right, I'm doing this, I'm gonna do manic panic, what color should I do? Like, you're totally cool, and you are very down to earth and stuff. So, and even I remember I was at your house again not that long ago, and your older daughter came home, and it was clear that she had been drinking. And you and your husband were like just talking to her and, listening to her or whatever. And I'm thinking in my head, how are they being like this? And I remember your husband saying to me, hey, listen, she's home. At least I know what's going on. Like, leave those lines of communication open so that they don't just run out of the house and hide, right? And do it behind your back. I mean, not that she came home wrecked out of her mind or anything like that, but
but she was definitely
she had something, and you knew it. And I watched your face, and I watched Matt's face, and the way that you guys kind of held your breath but still held your own. I was, very impressed with that, because I don't know if I can be that cool. I really don't.
You know what, Karen? Yeah, I know it. I would just like to clarify to anybody listening, just because I say it doesn't mean it's right. These are just my opinions, but my opinions are based on my experiences. So the way our philosophy about drinking started with our oldest son, who is now 27, and honestly, they started with my parents. My parents always told me, if you're drunk, don't drive, call us. If you're at a party and whoever's supposed to drive is drunk, don't get in the car, call us. And I'll never forget, I was 15 years old, I couldn't drive, and the person who drove us to the party drank way too much, and I wasn't getting in the car, neither were my friends. We were all drinking. And I called my dad, and I said, Dad, I'm sorry, so-and-so can't drive, and I'm sorry, but we're drunk too, and we need you to come pick us up. And it was like 2 o'clock in the morning on, it was like a weeknight. He had to get up at 6 for work. And he said, what's the address? And he came. He didn't yell at us. He didn't get mad. I didn't get grounded. And I never did that again.
Yeah.
I never, ever went somewhere where I didn't know I had a safe ride home because of the way my dad handled it. And I'm sure it had to be hard for him.
Right.
His baby girl, and I was drunk. I also never probably drank that much again. So I followed the same course of action with my son. always told him and all his friends, if you need me, call me. Don't get in the car with a drunk person. Don't drive drunk. I won't ask questions. I won't judge. I won't yell. And with my older son, it only happened once. But he called me, and it wasn't even their designated driver being irresponsible. Somebody gave their designated driver punch. It was so sweet. She had no idea there was alcohol in it, and she was unable to drive.
Wow.
And I went out in the middle of the night, and I picked them all up from White Plains, and I brought them home, and everybody slept it off. And honestly, that time, I didn't even tell the other parents because I didn't know them well enough. I just told them the kids fell asleep watching a movie, and they were staying at my house. Because I needed the kids to trust me.
Yeah. No.
If they don't trust you, even if it's a hard situation for you to deal with,
yeah,
that's when you have to worry. Sometimes, unfortunately, you have to suck it up.
Yeah. No, and that's why, like I said, when I watched you, I was in awe because, I mean, again, my kid's only 9.5, and I mean, I have a very open relationship with him, and I tell him the same thing, but I'm very, black and white with certain things. You know how I am. So it's hard, it's hard for me sometimes. And I think to myself, and I say it too, because, remember now, I don't, he's a boy and I'm, the only person, he has me. I mean, he has my father-in-law, he has, my father, but, it's me. So I need him to have the lines of communication open with me. So like I try to say to him, I mean, obviously like with like girls or whatever, I'm like, listen, it's me, it's your mother. You could tell me anything. It's okay, and I try to tell him, the same type of thing. I was raised very similarly. I mean, I was raised by two hippies. So at 16 years old, I'm sitting there at the Russian tea room one day. We always will go for Christmas Eve. And I ordered a Russian drink with vodka in it. And I lit up a cigarette. And I was like 16. And, my brother looked at me and was like, what are you doing? And he couldn't believe I was doing it. I go, what do you think? They don't freaking know? And I mean, like and that was it. And it was like, and to be honest with you, I don't have an addictive personality like that because like you said, when you don't have to hide it, it makes it more, I don't know, legit. It doesn't make it so taboo, right? Because.
Right. And I feel like when it's taboo, that's what makes it exciting and enticing.
Right, which is why we get into trouble as adults. But,
that's a whole other show, Karen.
That's a whole other show. Yes, correct. But I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, that's why, like, I need to check myself before I wreck myself on this one too with my son because I am, as my husband used to call me, the Gestapo. And I can't help myself. But I just want to remind you guys that you're listening to Real Talk with Karen Stacy live on MiamiMikeRadio.com. And on the phone with me is my girlfriend Melanie, who is the mom of 4 children. And so I have to pose the question that was... I had a couple of them that were written to me. So... one of the questions is, how do you handle when your teenager is mean and disrespectful to you and you had plans to go somewhere with them, but they don't deserve to go, but you don't want to wait a minute, but you want to go because it's paid for like a vacation. Yeah. So now, how would you, so you just kind of gave us a story, right? I mean, first of all, let's address the first part of that question. How do you handle your teenager that's mean and disrespectful to you?
Okay, so mean and disrespectful.
You beat them.
I'd love to say that was the answer.
You beat them.
Free to get meaner. I don't think I ever said it to my sons, but I told my daughter something a few years ago that I had heard my sister-in-law say to her daughter who's older. When she was my niece was about 13 and she was very angsty and going through puberty and all that. And my niece said to my sister-in-law what, moms always say to their kids, I don't hate you, but I don't like you right now. And my niece said it to my sister-in-law, and my sister-in-law said, if you don't hate me at some point in time, I'm not doing my job.
Right.
And it sounds nasty, but if you think about it, it's true. Your kids have to hate you at some point in time, or you're not doing your job. You're just going along. So when they are mean and disrespectful, we're really old school. We don't do grounding the way we were grounded. Like, we don't have, when I was grounded when I was a kid, we had to sit in our room and literally just sit there. We could have a book and that was it. And we did that when my kids were little. Now grounding is your home. They can still watch TV, but they can't have their phones. They can't have internet. I actually change the internet passcode sometimes, and just so I know they can't sneak a device.
Huh.
You have to fight fire with fire and let them know that you can. I tell my kids all the time, you can disagree with me, and that's okay, but you have to be respectful in the way you disagree.
Right.
And I'm not talking about, like, sometimes they slip and they curse when they're talking to me, but it's, as long as it's not directed at me,
right,
I'm okay with it, because I let them express their anger to a degree. Don't call me names. And it's a respect thing. If they're being disrespectful, they have to be punished for it and shown everything they have is because of their parents.
Yep.
Unfortunately, it really stinks because, we have 4 kids, and money is always an issue when you have 4 kids, especially when 3 of them are about to go into college. But I really am that mean mom that if it was a vacation and they were that disrespectful, I would make arrangements for them to stay with grandma or an aunt or an uncle, and I wouldn't take them.
So, and this was the end of that. It says, she said, like, if they don't have many friends and you feel bad keeping them home and away from your friends, away from their friends. Again, I think that kind of goes, listen, we all have a heart and none of us want to see our children, upset or whatever. But I agree with you in the sense that if you don't nip it, the behavior is usually perpetual, right? I mean, like with what happened with your daughters when they did the nose ring incident, that was not perpetual behavior. Like you said, that was a real rarity. They don't normally lie to you. They don't normally do things behind your back, right? So that was a rarity. And you still followed up with it the way you felt, what warranted, the crime, so to speak. But I think that as a parent, we're always going to be made to feel bad. But like you just said 5 minutes ago, if your kids don't, hate you for that minute, then you're not doing your job right? Because if somebody says to you, oh yeah, you got to do whatever you want all the time, yeah, you're going to love them, but how are you going to learn anything?
Right, and if you reward bad behavior, bad behavior is never going to change.
Agreed, and I am a huge proponent of that. Never reward bad behavior, and sometimes, go ahead.
Yeah, so I would just, again, just as I say, it doesn't mean it's right. I can also think of other scenarios that, if a vacation is planned and you've spent money on it, and whether money's an issue or not, there's also other ways. Like, you can say to the kid, okay, we're going on this vacation because it's already paid for and there's no one else to watch you, or it's going to affect the family too much if you're not there. But when we get home, this, and this is happening.
Right.
We actually had that happen once when my kids were younger. Matt and I were taking them to Great Wolf Lodge, which, if anybody's ever been to Great Wolf Lodge, it's freaking expensive. And I don't remember, I honestly can't remember which kid it was or what they did, but they had done something very bad. They were much younger than us. They had done something unforgivable and disrespected another adult. That's all I remember. And we said, look, and it was like 2 days before we went. We were like, look, Grandma's away.
Right, so they weren't teenagers.
Right, so I realized that with a teenager, it's different. You have to come up with something else. But so we brought him with him because we had no choice. But he paid for it when we got home. We basically told him that since he had done something wrong and shouldn't be allowed to go, he had to pay for his trip.
So that's...
So he...
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So we made him rush the cars. He wasn't allowed to have friends over. He didn't have the internet password. We literally made him pay for it. Obviously not in money.
Right.
And he never did anything like that again.
Right.
So there are other ways you can adapt that sort of thing to a teenager. You know, we're still going on the vacation, but you're not having your phone while we're gone. And when we get back, these are the chores you're doing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I totally understand not wanting to be mean and cancel a family trip, especially if the parents have looked forward to it.
Right. Well, and that's also another question that was posed to me. What do you do when they are disrespectful in front of friends, family, or even strangers?
I call them on it in public, in front of family, in front of friends. I try and remain calm so I don't look like a lunatic, but it's only happened a handful of times, but they've never gotten away from it. Got away with it.
See, I'm very much like that too, and I'll turn around and I'll look at my son and I'll say to him, again, he's not a teenager, but I'll say to him, how do you want to do this? You want to do this in front of your friends? Or you know, like, how do you want to do this? Because I do the same thing. It's just like when you're training a dog and they poop, and you got to stick their nose in it or take them over to it right after they poop, because if you go 5 minutes later, they forget what they did, right? So I am a firm believer of that as well. And I don't play, and I say it in front of people, but, you know, a lot of people aren't like that. You know, a lot of people, like me with my husband, like if we were arguing, I don't care. Like, it's all bets are off. If you want to go there in front of people, I'm going there right back. So choose which way, you know what I mean? So I say, well, choose it, because I would rather somebody say, wow, she just cracked him right in the mouth because of what he just said, than to say, and I will, and I have, than for somebody to turn around and say, wow, he was so disrespectful to her. I can't believe that. You know, like, I am not a fan of that. And again, being a single mom, I mean, although I was always this way, but now that I'm a single mom, you know, my kid's going to be taller than me in another year. So he better fear me, because, don't laugh. So, you know, and you know, that's how I look at it. Yeah, thank you. I'm laughing. I just want to remind everybody that you are listening to Real Talk with Karen Stacy live on MiamiMikeRadio.com. And we are talking about rotten teenagers.
So my famous words with my kids anytime, it's only a handful of times, but every once in a while, you know, JC with her, what she thinks is humor that sometimes gets out of hand, or Bree, she's my angsty teen, will say something in front of their friends or in front of my friends or family that has crossed the line.
Yep.
And my famous words are always, do you want to do this now?
Oh, see, that's the same thing I said.
Every single time I'll say it, they'll realize that they crossed the line. Sometimes they don't even know what it was.
Yep.
But they realize that something happened that set me off.
Yep.
And I've never had them say yes. They always say no. And then I say apologize. And we've been very lucky that they have.
That's great.
We had a couple incidents when they were younger where they just didn't get it yet. But I will never let them get away with disrespecting us in front of people.
Yeah, I agree with that. The other thing that was asked was, how do you get them to open up instead of walking away and staying in their room? So I guess this is also a good example of how you said every child is different, right? Because everybody is going to react differently. I'm sure of your 4 children, you know, do they all go to their room and clam up and walk away? Or does one of them do that? Do any of them do that?
They all have their moments. It depends on the issue. I have I've always had a saying, and I know I've seen it as a meme, but it's something that I've always said and known is when they're little, listen to every little thing they tell you, because if you don't, when they're big, they won't tell you anything.
Yep.
And it seriously, I probably told you that when Noah was born. I tell everybody that no truer words have ever been spoken. Even when my son is talking cars, because he can recite every detail of every sports car ever made, and my eyes are glazing over and rolling into the back of my head from boredom, I listen and attempt to engage as much as I can, because I don't know a lot about cars, Lamborghinis and Teslas and all this stuff. We still try and engage and listen. The girls are a little more difficult. I try and listen to all the drama when they come home from school. Summer is a little easier. We have a rule. Everybody, unless there's a reason. My daughter was at the high school earlier. Once school starts, or 2 weeks before school starts for us, there's activities or birthday parties or whatever it is. Unless there's a reason, everybody has to be home for dinner, especially during the school year. And I'm willing to change the dinner time to accommodate them. Our dinner time goes from 6 to 7:15 once school's the beginning of the school year, because my daughter has practice until 7. So I cook, Matt picks her up, and then we eat as a family. But we have to have family dinners. There are times of the year that, based on their schedules, that's not possible, so we try and do breakfast. But I feel like you almost have to force them.
Of course, it's
to be part of the family.
Yes, unity. It's a bond. It's a family bond and unity. I mean, growing up, we never had a TV in the living room because we used to sit down at the table and eat, and we actually had to talk to each other. There was no phones at that time. There was no TVs, and my son even said to my father, a week ago, Gramps, how come you don't have a TV in the living room? He goes, because that's not where a TV belongs. When we're here, we should be talking. And it is very difficult to do. And it's also not something that you can start when they're a teenager. It's,
Right.
It's something that has to...
There's exceptions to the rule.
Of course.
We are not able to sit down every single night and
Of course.
eat.
Of course.
It's not possible. Sometimes it does. It's not even that.
Yes.
But the other most important thing is, I feel like, and I see it all the time, when your kids walk up to you and say, Mom, Dad, don't just say, and keep looking at your phone. Turn your phone over, or your iPad, or your laptop, or whatever you're on, and look at them and engage with them. Don't just say what or and let them talk and not actually hear what they're saying.
Right.
You have no idea what you're missing.
No, and that's very true, and it's not easy, and I know I'm guilty of that sometimes because my head is in 37 different places, and my son is talking about the same type, like with the cars, but he doesn't do cars. He's talking about some Japanese Naruto fighting thing and all the different chakras, and I'm like, huh, what? And he's like,
and your eyes roll back in your head and glaze over.
Yes. And I'm like, huh? So yeah, and that's a very good advice for all of us, because we do get wrapped up. Life gets in the way, right? And our children are there and they need us, and sometimes we don't have a lot to give them, sadly, because the rest of the world took from us. But nothing is more important than our children. So we definitely, good advice to put the phone down, put the tablet down, and pay attention. So I have another thing that I need to get in. Believe it or not, we're almost out of time. The other thing, and you are married, so it's one of the questions was, what happens with the dads? Like, should the dad take a side? Do dads not saying anything make matters worse or better? And should the dad always stand behind the mother? So what is your take on that? How do you do things in your family?
My husband and I agreed when our children were small. The first time we disagreed on, probably something I was doing, reprimanding the kids, and he was like, really, it's not that bad.
Right.
In front of the kids.
No, thank you.
We agreed, but you know what? We were new parents. I was a single mom first.
I know.
Married and divorced very young with my oldest son. And this was his first rodeo, and he was doing the best he could.
Yep.
But after that one time, we agreed that if it came to disagreeing about something with the kids, we would not do it in front of them under any circumstances. So when they were younger, that was much easier. But honestly, for the most part, he would just back me up because he was working and I was home then. And then tell me later that, did you need to be so strict? Did you need to be so hard on them? But not in front of them.
Uh-huh.
Now that they're teenagers, we will say right in front of them, Dad and I need to discuss this. Why don't you go upstairs? We'll go outside and talk about it, and we'll get back to you. Because we don't always agree. The first time my daughter asked to go to a party and was honest with us and told us that there was going to be drinking and she was 14 years old, I was like, are you kidding me?
Right.
Of course you're not going. And my husband said to my daughter, Mom and I need to discuss this. Go up to your room. We'll talk to you in a little bit. And then he pulled me aside and he said, hon, I understand how strong you feel about this, but she's being honest with us. She's telling us she's going to a party where there's going to be drinking and she is not planning on drinking. If we say no to her every time she's honest to us, she's going to start lying. And he was right in that situation. There's been other situations I've been right. But we tried very, very hard not to disagree on their upbringing in front of them. And it is easier when they're teenagers. You could just say, go away for a little while, we'll talk about it.
Well, and again, children are very smart. And it's the whole, divide and conquer thing, right? So you remember, remember when we were younger and it would be like, Mom, you're in one room, they're in the other room. Daddy, I want to go to my friend's party. All right, well, what did your mother say? Well, Mommy told me to ask you. All right, well, did she say it was okay? She said it was okay, but you have to, she didn't, you had to say it was okay. Right? So then you get smart and you just go over afterwards after you've been through this thing 37 times and you go, Daddy, Mommy said I could go to the party. Is it okay? And that wasn't necessarily true until you fact checked. But divide and conquer.
I always fact checked. We learned that quickly.
Yep. Because they're smart, and that's what. But the thing is that I always believe, and unfortunately my life, went differently. I always said every child should have a mother and a father. And obviously we know that biologically you have to have a mother and a father. But I mean in terms of the balance, because just like what you just said, as women, as moms, some of us that are a little thicker headed than others, stronger minded, it's right away, like you said with that party, no, there's going to be drinking there. There's no freaking way you're going. And then you have the voice of reason on the other side saying that is an equal part of her life that loves her just as much as you love her. And says, well, you know what? We need to look at this from a different angle, because if we say no, it's going to become the forbidden fruit again, right? So now let's try to, we have to trust her, we have to whatever. And that's why I really do feel that it's important to have that balance. I know that I'm crazy, and I know my husband called me the Gestapo, his Fuhrer. I mean, I know how I am, and sometimes I have to catch myself because now there's nobody there to say that to me. Sometimes my father will say to me, Karen, let him work through this. If something's going on with the boys and the kids are arguing, I want to get in the middle of it. And he's like, Karen, let them figure it out. You can't always get involved. And I learned a while ago not to get involved, but then certain things, it's really hard for me not to. I can't help myself. And I kind of
It is very hard not to get involved sometimes, especially, I feel like it's worse for our generation if somebody did something awful to you, your father could go knock on the door and talk to the dad.
Talk? I mean,
can't do that anymore.
Well, and
punch him in the face. It was still okay.
Right.
With that.
Well, and that it's funny that you say that, because you know that I had some issues in Noah's school with the bullying. And I said that. I said, it's funny, when I was talking to the principal, I said, if his father was alive, you know how this would have been handled? The first time he put his hands on my kid, my husband would have been at their door, grabbed the father by the freaking throat, and said, if your son touches my son again, this ain't going to end well. And it would have been done from that point forward. And, and that's the way, I'm not saying that's the right way. You're not supposed to grab somebody by the throat and choke them, but...
No, but still at the same time, it's old school. Kids are not held accountable.
No kidding.
And it always traces back to the parents. So I feel that you always have to hold your kids accountable.
Me too.
My kids know that if another adult tells me they did something, they are guilty until proven innocent. We are not in a court of law. We are in the court of this household.
Agreed.
And I have no reason to believe another adult would lie to me about something you did.
Right.
So they know that they're guilty until proven innocent in that sort of scenario.
Which is also why it's important that you have that relationship with your children and you know who and what they are, and that there's honesty involved in all of it.
Absolutely.
So that you can believe your children.
But, when Ty got bullied a couple of years ago, Matt told the principal, and unfortunately had to involve police in our incident, I'm just going to go talk to the parents. And both of them said, please don't do that.
Yep.
It won't end well.
Yep.
And I had to talk him off the ledge. And he didn't want to go beat anybody up. He seriously wanted to go have a conversation.
Right.
But they knew the parents.
Right.
So they knew it wasn't going to end well.
Right. And it's a very sad thing that this is the state of affairs that we're in. But I just want to, unfortunately, believe it or not, we only have a few moments left, and I have to do some promos here as well. So I just wanted to thank you for your input and wisdom, and I hope that some of the people that reached out to me have a different opinion and outlook, a way of doing things that deals with children and females in particular, daughters, because we all know that daughters and mothers are an entity into of themselves, right? So, but I just want to thank you, as always, for your words of wisdom and sharing that, and I am grateful to have you in my corner to remind me of these things when I'm losing my mind. So,
I've always got you.
Well, thank you. So I want you to just listen. So on Sundays, I just want to tell you the lineup that we got going on Miami Mike Radio. So Sundays we have Backstage Pass NY with John Maldonado from noon to 2. Mondays we have The Ride Home with DJ Paulie, aka the Portuguese Prince, from 6 to 9. Mind Candy Mondays with DJ Rob Mush, 9 to 11. And Rob Mush has some exciting stuff going on. He has a fun house thing happening. Actually, I think it's September 21st, which is actually my husband's birthday, or would have been my husband's birthday. So we have to stay tuned for more details on that one. And then, of course, you're listening to Real Talk with Karen Stacy, and we are on Tuesdays from 7 to 8. Coming up right after me is Frank C's Record Pool with DJ Frank C. We also have on Wednesdays DJ Lady E at 7 p.m. Wednesdays is the Mayhem Loyal Listener Show with Hamilton Czar and Maymay, with a different special loyal listener guest each week from 8:30 to 11:30. Thursdays is the Traffic Jam with DJ Michael Anthony from 4 to 6 p.m. Fridays, we have Friday night sessions with Tony Sanapi from 9 to midnight. Saturdays, we have the Ghazi Show with DJ Ghazi from 8 to 10. And then we have the Dance Party with Anthony Mangini from 10 to 2 a.m. That's a long night. So, I want to thank you again, Melanie, for being on the show with me and helping us all get some much-needed answers. And I also want to thank all of my listeners out there. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your input. Thank you for your questions. Please feel free to email me, Karen Stacy at MiamiMikeRadio.com. Love you guys. Have a great week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Mel. All right, hold on. Stop recording.